We're going to be talking today about one of the most important events happening in gaming right now, which is why the hell are we all playing Valorant? Quick pause before we get into the video. I just want to say if I look like a zombie in any of the gameplay, it's not because I'm actually dying, it's just because I had some crazy allergies over the past couple months. That's pretty much it. Let's get back into it. If you don't know, Valorant is a first-person shooter developed by Riot Games, the titanic team behind League of Legends, which is the MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena, I think. But if you don't know what League of Legends is, just ask your 12-year-old cousin who gets angry all the time. He probably knows what it is.
Dude, it is f***ing insane how hard I tilt. Oh my god!
But what's really interesting about Valorant is that it's a completely new genre of gaming that Riot is delving into, which is the first-person shooter. And I'm not even saying that the game isn't great. It's got style, it's smooth, it's confident, but I think it's gaining so much popularity because there's such a giant vacuum in the gaming world right now, especially around competitive first-person shooters. I mean, think about it. There's only Modern Warfare, which is getting a little old, Overwatch, which definitely is old, and then Counter-Strike Global Offensive, which is definitely old. There's not a lot of first-person shooter competitive games out there right now. Valorant is a good game, but I'm not sure if it does enough to be a great original game. And I expected a little bit more from the minds and honestly the wallet behind Riot Games. So who'd be interested in Valorant? Well, do you like fast-paced, in-your-face violence and action? Well, this is not the game for you then. This game is about strategizing, slowing things down, listening, communicating between your team, and finding a tactical approach to win the game.
Spike down A.
Woo! It's a 5v5 first-person arena shooter. There's other game modes, but we're going to be mainly talking about the main mode, which is, what is it even called? I think it's the game. I know Counter-Strike doesn't really have a name for theirs either. It's just called Bomb Defusal. And that's basically what Valorant is. It's basically Counter-Strike's bomb defusal mode. With one team on offense that spawns with a bomb and one team on defense on the other side of the map defending the plant sites where the bomb can be planted. The bomb planting team only has 100 seconds for them to get from the spawn point to the plant site and plant the bomb. And the round ends when either team is completely eliminated or the bomb goes off or if the bomb is defused. Woo! So you're probably asking, how many rounds is this game then? Is it best out of 3, best out of 5, 7, whatever? Well, it's a little longer than that. It's about 25. Yeah, cancel your plans. And before we go any further, I just want to say this, and this is probably my biggest gripe about the game. The game has incredibly clear influences from two major games in the first-person shooter genre, which is Counter-Strike Source, or Global Offensive, Overwatch, and, you guessed it, Plants vs. Zombies 3. No, not really. I mean some parts, but not the whole thing. Valorant's setting takes place on Earth in the near future, following a global event known as the First Light. The First Light affects everything in the world, including biological life and advancements in technology. This event also affects individuals and grants them crazy abilities around the world, and they're known as Radiants. Great, they're also ripping off Darker Than Black. But besides influences, what's it like to play this game? Don't get me wrong, the game is as sharp as Genji's blade. It's got rewarding gameplay, it's got a steep learning curve, and it requires strategy and snappy reaction times to win. The game also does keep bringing you back because, man, once you find that freaking groove, you're just snapping to people's heads and just taking them out. You and your team are just completely ambushing a team perfectly. Or maybe it's like right at the end of a round and you just have to make a snap decision and it ends up working out completely.
Holy sh**.
There's times in this game that are totally epic gaming, dude. But that epic gaming comes at a cost. There will be times where you will basically climb a mountain of depressing sighs after plays in a game, or clenching your fists, or hell, if you get mad enough, even giving it a solid desk slam. You're gonna lose a lot in this game, man. You're gonna die a lot in this game. You're gonna make a lot of stupid decisions too. But don't lose hope, because just like any game that's really competitive, you can grow to be kind of better. But don't get too good, because skill-based matchmaking will kick in, and by the end of the game you'll be pounded into a mental state of worthlessness. Although a team can snowball in Valorant and win multiple rounds in a row, the way snowballing works in Valorant is nothing like it is in League of Legends. In League of Legends, 5 minutes in you could die 3 times, and the rest of the 15 minutes before surrender are just going to be an absolute poo party.
You know what?
You can take them.
Unless your team's a bunch of tool bags, then the surrender vote doesn't even work, and then you're there for an hour of just absolute misery. Basically what I'm saying is it doesn't matter if you get steamrolled the first 12 rounds. You'll still run into times where you gotta go on defense. And sometimes the team that you're versing sucks at defense. Or they have all the money and an operator and you get completely destroyed again. Also, just an important side note, sound in this game, no, you can't listen to music or a podcast or the ambient relaxation playlist on Spotify. You can't do any of that. This game demands absolute attention and that involves your hearing. Sound whoring is not even a try-hard aspect in this game. It is a mandatory aspect of this game. The first thing you'll probably notice when you play Valorant is its very confident and smooth art style. I really gotta give it credit there. The game looks really nice. And there's clearly some clever design going on to make it run as smoothly as possible. The game isn't super realistic and it doesn't look too simple or cartoony to where the characters lose depth. They really did strike a nice balance of believability and charm. Combined with that clever design, there's also some really, really good smooth coding in this game. Not that I know much about coding, but I know that this game runs very, very well on almost any computing system. So even if you're using your dad's hand-me-down tan Windows 95 PC, you're still gonna be rocking a lit 30 frames per second. Maybe. The game is pretty, even though it could be pretty much directly ripped from any one of Overwatch's maps, because it's basically the same setting and plot of the game. But it does look like a pretty game, and I gotta give respect to the artists that put in the work. Now let's talk about the agents. The agents are the characters in the game that you can play as. There's 15 of them right now, and they're all different in abilities and presentation. Sure, a lot of them look like scrapped League of Legends characters, aka Male Vi. The most important thing about each character is that they have different abilities, and these abilities add a completely refreshing take to the Counter-Strike-esque gameplay loop that this game provides, which usually heavily relies on gunplay alone. See ya. Abilities can be bought in every round. Besides your E, you naturally have that one, and they add tactical elements that you can use during your game. There's stuns, there's blinds, there's attack speed bonuses, there's leeching, there's armor. Pretty much every character gets one or two of these. Unless you're Reyna, then you get all of them. And is that broken as f? Yes, absolutely. You'll be surprised though, some abilities you think are absolutely useless, like how could I even use this to my advantage during the game? But then all of a sudden you watch a pro player use it and it just completely changes your perspective of how to use that certain ability. Like for a while I couldn't totally wrap my head around how to use smokes in the game. Like I'd be playing the game and then some guy would just be like, Jet, how'd you not use your smoke around that corner? And I was like, well then I would have been smoked. Yeah, but dude, he doesn't know that you're smoking though. Yeah, but I still get smoked because of that. Yeah, but also you're a douche. No, okay. Yeah, but dude, they don't see that you're smoking and they don't know that you have smoke so you can use the smoke to your advantage. And by that time I was like, well, I got shot in the back of the head because somebody was backdooring me at the time. I really do appreciate that in Valorant. They also, unlike League, they actually kind of chilled out with the whole like busty anime fan service kind of art style. These girls actually look badass and capable and I love playing as them. I'm not saying that there's not a time and a place for that kind of art style, but when you're playing a first-person shooter and you're trying to focus on shooting somebody's head, and then there's something else there distracting you, and it just makes things hard. But no, poor choice of words. What I like is all the characters do embrace the whole fantasy future world look, but at the same time, it makes it look really weird for some of them to be holding modern day assault rifles. I mean, look at Sage and Omen. Like, it looks like Sage was in like the Wreck-It Ralph power strip lobby and she was heading to her Ice Queen game or whatever, but then somebody was like, hey, you're actually reporting to the first person shooter genre today, and then was just tossed like an AK-47 and she's like, okay.
Everyone here says I'm just a mistake.
And I like Sage's design, but I feel like a lot of the setting and characters in the game, the weaponry even almost got to that future magic world, but then at the last second they like pulled back and like, actually we need to have our guns and weaponry look exactly like the Counter-Strike weapons, because if we don't use them, we're not gonna have the Counter-Strike audience show up because they're not gonna know that we have their guns in this game. And that leads me to my next point. So let's talk about the guns in Counter-Strike. I mean, Valorant. Gunplay in Valorant really does revolve around you learning how the gun mechanic works. You basically find out that you really do want to take your time paying attention to the rate of fire of the gun, along with not moving your character to develop a precise shot. Also, if you get shot, your character does slow down like he's getting pulled into quicksand, except at the end of the quicksand, there's a firing squad there ready to shoot you.
Me.
The guns in the game are varied in handling and capability, but for some reason they chose to make every gun in this game look like the same gun 14 times over. There is little to no variety in the look of the guns in this game. And to an extent, I understand that, to keep standard equipment relatively the same so you entice players more to buy your skins that look creative and cool. But at the same time, they couldn't even shake up the categories of guns, like whether it's a DMR or an assault rifle, have like basically the same sight. Every gun is that like standard charcoal gray. I mean, take a look at the Phantom and the Ghost. The Ghost is just a miniature version of the Phantom with the stock in the magazine kicked off. Now at the beginning of the game, everybody does start with the classic pistol, and pistols are surprisingly reliable in this game.
Get him out of here.
If you're wondering how much damage the pistol does, and at that any gun in the game, you can just hit the buy menu at any moment and look on the right side, and you can see how much damage any gun does at any part that it hits of the body. I thought this was a really cool addition to a game that's very precision heavy. Pretty much any gun between the classic pistol and the Vandal is just filler. The Vandal is clearly the best gun in the game for most situations, followed closely behind by the Phantom. The Phantom is closely behind the the Vandal. Any guns before those, like SMGs and shotguns, do have their sweet spots and their times of use.
I right-clicked. Did you see that?
Can I not be in this spot every time?
But overall, you're definitely going to be relying on the Vandal and the Phantom most of the game. The Vandal's just so versatile on how you can use the gun. Like for instance, when I use it, it's a pretty decent gun. When my opponents use it, it's also a sniper. And don't let me forget about snipers in this game. It's my favorite category of weapon. That's mainly because I'm an overconfident douche in my shot. In order to get the guns, you do have to buy them by raising money each round. Each round you start with a specific amount of money that can vary by the end of the round depending on how many kills you get and how much you plant the bomb or play the objective. Spending your money belligerently throughout the game can really cost you the game, especially when it comes down to the wire. And the game does come down to the wire. Before I get into the game getting down into the wire, I do want to talk about the skins in the store in this game. You might find yourself somebody like me who doesn't mind contributing to a free-to-play game. I've done it many times, including League of Legends, which I probably spent $600 on over like a 5-year period or whatever, which is still unacceptable. Or Fortnite, which I probably spent another $600 on over less time. But in Valorant, if you want to buy skins or contribute in this game, you gotta ask yourself one question. Do you make $150,000 or more a year? If you don't, it doesn't make financial sense at all whatsoever for you to buy a knife in this game that is $40, so don't buy them. Even though I have. But I bought the pack, I had a bundle deal. I'll admit, some of the skins are dope. They are definitely limited. I mean, if you take a look at the battle pass, like, this is the best you guys can do. Some of these skins are horrible and just like a clown will use them. Enough semantics. Let's talk about getting down to, what did I say it was earlier? Getting down to the wire. This game gets serious. In the same vein as League of Legends, this game is centered around competitive gameplay. Oh, sorry. This game is centered around rage-inducing gameplay.
Oh my... What? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm going to do this.
You will lose games. You will lose rank. You will lose hope in your teammates, not just as gamers, but as friends. You'll come across players that seem to have spidey senses and can turn on a dime at your head instantly, even when they're using, once again, the Vandal. The game isn't a horror game, but by the amount of times that you'll be surprise killed in this game, you'll be jumping as much as you do in Outlast 2.
If he was smart, he'd go A.
Last player standing.
The game has some dramatic moments that can cause some really tense gameplay moments of really putting pressure on one player, and that can be really fun, but it can also lead to a lot of teammates getting really frustrated at each other, not communicating enough, not making the right shots or the calls, or, dude, it's the internet and it's gaming. People can just also be trolls all the time and just, whoa. All right, we're good. When you're playing a Riot game, you can't help but let that angry, tangy toxicity drip into your gamer veins. Even Riot indicates this with their Riot logo, which has a fist directly in the logo, indicating cyberbullying, as we all know. All jokes aside, the Valorant community actually is pretty good for the most part. About 70% of the gamers that I run into in the game are competent gaming individuals. The other 30% might be dogs, and about 15% of that 100% is AFK 100% of the time. But the game does put you into scenarios in the game where you and your team can make absolute clutch moments in gaming that are super exhilarating and exciting and surprising. The game does put you into scenarios, scenario
or scenario if you're a f***ing asshole. Because it's a scenario, easy.
And I think Valorant really does make you a better shooter. Putting so much weight on actually pulling your shot correctly does make you a more accurate shot over time, I do believe. If you're coming into this game from the Counter-Strike background, this game shouldn't be too difficult. If you're coming into this game from the Overwatch background, be prepared to learn a completely different game at max difficulty setting. Communication is key. Even though in most games I tend to mute my other teammates and talk to my friends, in this game you actually do need to talk to your teammates, so resist the urge to immediately turn on your teammates off and mute them, even though I still do mute players all the time, but that's mainly because I want to talk about Girls with Caleb. All in all, I think Valorant is a good game, but I think it's just that. I'm not sure if it's a great game or if it will ever be a great game. I mean, I really think back to when Overwatch came out. When Overwatch came out, it was like freaking mind-blowing. Like, I'm not saying it reinvented the wheel, but I remember Twitch streamers playing it and being so jealous that they had closed beta access. I was just like, this game looks so polished, the characters' abilities are so unique and interesting, and the freaking art and design of the game is just so pretty and smooth looking. I just wanted to play it so freaking bad. And in Valorant, I'm kind of like, I've seen that before, I've seen that before, I've seen that before. You know, I think it's solid. I think it's solid. I do have a slight concern about its survivability in the long term with games like Overwatch 2 coming out, Battlefield 6 being announced soon, which isn't really a competitive game, but it's a damn good first-person shooter. Modern Warfare will probably get a second version of the game here in the next year or two. It still has to compete with a huge Counter-Strike fan base and all that kind of stuff as well. But I think it's mainly super popular right now because there's that vacuum that I was talking about in the gaming world around the first-person competitive shooter, because they'll have something interesting and new, whereas Valorant does kind of stick to the safe approach of having the game mechanics of Counter-Strike and Overwatch blended together. I think with the up-and-coming games coming out, I think it'll have a hard time keeping their numbers so high, but I don't think it'll die. I'm not saying that. I should have said this earlier, but I really am a fan of Riot, and I know that they know what makes a game great, so I have faith that it will survive the test of time. I hope that they can also produce another game that maybe can shake things up and add a completely new innovation into the gaming world. That's my takes on Valorant. Thank you so much for watching the video. If you did, leave a like if you liked the video, and subscribe if you guys want to see more. I plan on making more videos. I actually have another video already started to write, and so I can't wait to talk about that game because I've been playing a lot of it. I won't say what it is yet, and hopefully I can get that developed in the next week or two as well. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. All right, bye. Gaming and Valorant. How much more fucking noise could... I just sat down to record this video and a storm started. Police are driving by. I got an Amazon package delivered. My family chat is text is going off like, leave me alone. People are waiting for this content.